Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of J. Avenues podcast. It's me, Jay, your host, and I know it's been a while since I've posted an episode, but I believe in breaks and toning it down a bit. Also tending to personal life and what have you. Also to give some of you guys a chance to catch up with the episodes. I know I've had a lot of episodes back to back, so I'm still working on the frequency of the podcast episodes. So let's get into this week I wanted to talk about the idea of love. What is it? What does it mean? And the reason why I feel most relationships don't work out. I have a theory. Hear me out. I think that one of the reasons why most relationships do not work out as planned is because both parties involved usually tend to have two separate definitions of what love is, right? And the reason why this is because some people just don't even have a complete definition of the term love. It's not just one thing. It's actually multiple concepts and behaviors tied in together. It's honesty, it's trust, communication, respect, it's care, it's intimacy, it's sacrifice, effort. It's all of these things in one, right? And most people are missing multiple key ingredients into what love is. So you have these two varying definitions by two individuals, but they're in the same relationship. So of course they're not going to be on the same page all the time. And one may always feel unloved or loved less than the other based on what they're willing to sacrifice or not sacrifice. What I mean by that? Okay, case in point, example. Maybe there's a man and woman together, relationship, right? And the man states that he cannot provide emotional support for his woman. It's just not who he is. It's not possible because that's just not what he does. And on the woman's end, that's what she needs for her to feel happy and feel loved, because that's a part of her definition. So then she's always going to be lacking in the relationship, thus unhappy, feeling less loved, because maybe everything he asks for she provides. So we just have to be able to give each other what we both want and need. So I think one of the main things when you get into a relationship is first establish, what are our definitions of love? Do we have the same definition? Chances are you probably not and probably don't. What is love to you? Okay, this is love to me. And that conversation needs to happen. And it may sound silly, right? Because we all assume that we know what love is and it's this one definition, a universal definition, but it's really not. It's a lot of various definitions going around out there, and we're not taking the time to sit down and ask each other those questions that are important. Another thing I wanted to dive deeper into is actually what I just touched on, and that's like the idea that people tend to think they cannot provide all of the ingredients to love because it's not who they are. In the previous example that I told you, remember the guy, he says he's not able to be emotionally supportive. And so it's kind of a, that's just not what I do, so take it or leave it kind of attitude that a lot of us tend to have. And it's almost as if people who claim that this is not who they are, they just can't provide something because it's not in line with who they are. They have taken on these behaviors as part of their identity. It's almost as like it's more of a personality trait for them. And they don't realize that this behavior is not a trait. It's actually just a defense mechanism, or maybe unnecessary action, or maybe even a trigger. Because some of these traits, let's be real, they're not who you are. It's what you choose to do in that moment as a response. It's a survival response. For example, you as a person, you're not an easily angered person. You are not a frustrated person. You are not an annoying person who gets annoyed easily. You're not a violent person or a mean spirited person. These are all just behaviors that are triggered usually by your environments or your surroundings. So you don't have to behave like that. You choose to behave like that based on previous traumas or previous issues, and the environment and the situation that the pressure that you're under. So just because these behaviors may be constant doesn't necessarily mean that this is who you are, truly. It could just be that you are just constantly putting yourself in positions and environments where you have to activate your survival mode and you have to react that way. Or you're dealing with the same type of people who always trigger you and they trigger those same emotions. And so because you don't know that you've taken these on as a part of who you are, then it's kind of like you're operating from ego, right? So you're going to convert these things and turn them into badges of honor. So because I'm always constantly angry, I've gotten to the point that I've just accepted that that's who I am. And now that's like a badge of honor. Like, I'm proud to be who I am. Like, it's almost like trying to build your self-esteem and self-awareness, but you're promoting and you are, how do I say, you're taking on personality behaviors as your identity, but they're not. Like, what you do isn't who you are. There could be another reason for that. So now you're kind of proud to show these negative forms of expression, right? Okay, so yeah, I talk loud. Okay, what and what? Well, maybe you talk loud because you're constantly in positions and situations where you're not feeling heard or respected, and you have to talk loud to defend yourself. And that's something that you just always had to do your whole life. So now you're saying this is who I am, but it really and truly, it's who you choose to be. You don't have a physical or mental condition to where your voice can't be lowered. It's just the reason why you're doing it subconsciously. And these negative forms of expression that you're taking on as part of who you are, you only do that because you want to show strength, right? You do not want to appear weak. We all have this tendency to fall victim of trying to put on a fake pretense in order to look strong because we feel like it makes us invincible. So we wear these vests of false pretenses to protect ourselves from being hurt or being tried. You're not going to try me, manipulate me. You can't betray me. But really and truly, we're just not being real with ourselves. And until we can be real with ourselves and understand who we truly are at our core, then we can start to define what love is for us. What do we need in order to feel loved, in order to feel safe? Because that should be a part of your love definition as well, right? Because love is not unsafe. It should be security. Security should be there. Why is that not a part of your definition of love? We cannot figure out our definition until we truly know at the core who we truly are, irrespective of these behaviors and toxic behaviors that we may display throughout our daily lives. So yes, I'm frequently easily angered, but it's because this is my trigger. So that is the response that I walk away with in those situations. And be open and honest about those things, because now you can share that with your partner so they can know how they can show up for you in the relationship. Now, yes, there are people who may use those things against you, but then that's not the person you need to be with anyway. If you do spend the time and you do find someone worth investing your time into, worth developing and building a foundation to a great healthy relationship, one of the first things that you definitely should be doing is having that conversation, that initial conversation of what is love for the two of us? What does it look like for you? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? And let me share with you my definition of how love feels for me, what it sounds like, how it looks. And let's see where we have similarities, where we have differences. And in those differences, can I provide that for you? Maybe I can't. And so what do we do with that? And so if we're not having that conversation, we're already off to a bad start. Because then you have assumptions, right? Because here it is, we don't know each other's definition of love. We've never talked about it. We just assume that we have the same idea of what it is. And so when someone doesn't show up for us in a certain way, we get upset. But how can you be upset? I didn't know that you needed someone who's a good listener. I don't know that. I thought you were cool with me not even paying attention to you. Because to me, that's really not necessary for love, in my definition. But you don't know that. So that's really one of the reasons why I think relationships usually don't last as long. Amongst other reasons, of course. But I think once you get over that hurdle, you're off to a good start. Because we're seeing so many relationships that are just starting with no solid or firm foundations. Another reason why I was inspired to do this one is because, there's the man and women debate going around and the clash that's happening, right? A battle of the sexes. And it's just a difference of perspective, quite honestly. Some people just show up providing two things, and that's enough for them. They don't see why they should give any more than that. And then some people just expect the whole world from one individual, and they can't even provide that or reciprocate that energy. So there's an imbalance, and that's because there's a difference of perspective. If we can just align our perspectives together, I think, it'll definitely be off to a good start. So I think that's it. I'm going to end it here. So yeah, tell me what you think in the comments. All right. Take care.